Hey guys, today we have a new episode about the BMW E30, which is in perfect condition, never welded or damaged, and with a somewhat modern 3-liter engine producing 231 horsepower. In this series, I want to increase the power of this M50 B30 engine, and do it quite affordably. Let's see together if I can achieve that or not. In the previous episode, we increased the power by replacing the exhaust manifolds with equal length ones and installing a fully open exhaust system. It yielded decent results, as seen in the previous episodes. I measured the power on a dynamometer, and it turned out quite well. In this series, I'll start by buying an intake manifold from the M50 B25 model, which has wider intake channels. Many recommend installing it, thinking it will improve power, but there's also the opposing view that it will require tuning after installation. But how people say, before you start, you can't say anything. Additionally, my engine has a DISA valve that operates at low revs and, according to many, also adds power. But no one can say for sure if anything will change after replacing the manifold. Let's get started with installing this manifold that I've already purchased. I've been searching for it for a couple of months to find one without defects, and now we'll begin the installation. Well, my hands are all cut up, but I'll get it out, of course. A lot of hoses and such were attached to it. Here it is on the ground. This new collector that will be installed. Now I'll figure out where to connect each hose and so on. The most obvious example, 2 collectors together, and you can see how much bigger the air hole is on the M50 B25. Here we have additional air channels compared to the old collector. We need to plug them. I'll go cut it, catch it, a small piece from the top. I'll make some cuts with a drill and then screw it on. Then I'll screw it on and apply paint to the collector. We put the collector on the engine, leaving paint on the cylinder head, and we see how much we need to mill the holes. So, I made windows, but for this inner size, not for the rubber. And for this size, I made everything neatly. The rubber will fit on the flat platform, and everything should work well. The fuel rail also doesn't fit, all the attachments need to be redone, and the injectors need to be rotated 180 degrees. So, guys, we continue with the installation of our M50 intake manifold. We want to install the factory throttle from the M54 in our case. So, these holes, halfway through this hole, screw in. For now, I don't know how. I'm sitting here thinking, maybe we'll make one plate, then try another one, with eccentric screws or something. For now, I'm not sure. Maybe we'll drill a new hole somewhere. Here's the biggest problem. Everything is more or less fitting, but, of course, there are a lot of modifications, different attachments, rotated injectors, basically, a whole lot of mess everywhere. But this is the biggest problem, to put everything through the rubber grommets without any rigid makeshift solution. So, I decided to make these plates. This plate will be screwed to the manifold, and the second plate, the same, will be screwed to the throttle. and they will be screwed together on top in convenient places. See this protrusion? It's specifically made for this. Without it, there's no place to screw in the fourth bolt. But with it, I've created 4 corners here, so it fits snugly into the throttle without any play. Now I'll mark the hole positions to thread them here. Anyway, let's get to work. We're leveling the manifold so that its surface lies flat, using a straight edge. Then we take it to the wash to clean it and start the final installation. So, guys, here's how our engine bay looks now. At first glance, it all seems factory made, with all new hoses and gaskets. I installed an oil catch can additionally, and I plan to put a heat shield here to completely shield from hot air. In general, let's head to the track, and I'll show you the M3 in the E30 body. And let's do a test drive right away to see how the manifold replacement turned out. Just watch 3 BMW E30s with identical 3-liter M50 B25 engines, all replicas of the M3 engine, very well made over the years by a person, even with a working air conditioner. The most important thing you want to hear is whether there was a power increase from replacing the manifold with the M50 B25. So, after multiple measurements, nothing changed at all. It remained the same as before, according to the instruments. There were some minor dips on certain gears when shifting aggressively, but overall, everything is fine with city driving. The idle has become perfect, as if the car just rolled out of the showroom brand new. There's not a single lambda zone or airflow meter in my engine, but still, the idle is perfect. I'm very pleased that at least I achieved that. Many people told me that replacing the manifold gives a power boost without tuning, but it's all a lie. Without tuning, I've already seen that nothing will change. So, now we're waiting for the tuner to come. Regarding the removal of the DISA valve from the factory M54 manifold, it didn't make any difference for better or worse. The car still drives the same as before, especially at low RPMs. So, there's no need to worry about this change. Currently, we're waiting for a tuner. I've purchased a new airflow meter, and we'll be tuning the car, trying both with and without the airflow meter. Finally, guys, it happened. I tuned my car. You can't even imagine how hard it was to find a tuner for such old cars, but someone recommended a person to me. He came and tuned it. And we got a good power increase in the discipline of 100 to 200 kilometers per hour. I immediately measured it exactly -1 second. We achieved this on heavy 17-inch wheels with 215 tires. After that, I bought Toyo E30 or semi-slick tires, 225 width, on 15-inch lightweight forged wheels. I want to set some records for myself. Of course, I'll be attempting 0 to 100 kilometers per hour, 0 to 200 kilometers per hour, and 100 to 200 kilometers per hour runs on these lighter wheels. This will give me better traction, unlike the 17-inch wheels where I sometimes struggled. The results so far are somewhat promising, but not consistent. With the Toyo E30R, I expect more stable and better results. Also, the front wheels are unique 15-inch wheels with lightweight Michelin tires, 155 width. This setup is specifically for record attempts. But even before testing, I can feel that the car has become significantly more dynamic in the city. It's noticeable at low revs and at any speed. You can feel it without any instruments. Now, we'll go and attempt to set those records I mentioned earlier, and at the end of the video, I'll tell you what this car is capable of today. Alright, guys, I've set records on our BMW E30. So, the 0 to 100 kilometers per hour time when I bought the car was 5.7 seconds, and now it's 5.02 seconds, roughly 5.25 seconds. I'll insert the screenshots so you can see. It's a really cool result. For the quarter mile, when I bought the car, it was 13.8 seconds with an exit speed of about 160 kilometers per hour. And now we've achieved 13.4 seconds with an exit speed of 166 kilometers per hour. That's also very good. For the 0 to 200 kilometers per hour run, when I bought the car, it was 22 seconds, and now it's 20.82 seconds. So, we've shaved off about 1 second from the exhaust manifold and exhaust collector upgrades, and another second after installing the intake manifold from the M50 B25 and tuning. That's a total of 2 seconds improvement. It's really impressive. For the 0 to 1,000 meter run, I set a record of 15.1 seconds, and I can consistently repeat that time. However, I haven't yet reached my full potential, but I'm confident that the car can perform better if properly tuned. The tuner said he didn't have enough time to fine-tune everything, so with a few more hours of adjustment, those slight hesitations during aggressive shifting without lifting off the gas could be eliminated. Currently, there are some soft hesitations, but they're manageable. I won't be tuning further because I have a different solution, which I'll tell you about at the end of the video. Now, let me tell you the story of how I almost wrecked my BMW E30. I was pulling it home on a tow rope. I had 15-inch BBS wheels on it with semi-slick tires. These wheels had a greater offset, so I put wider tires on them to match the rear wheels, which I aligned to zero camber to ensure even wear. However, During launches and gear changes, the rear end squatted significantly, causing severe rubbing. It was practically undrivable. It was constantly rubbing and making noises. Eventually, I bought these lightweight wheels I showed you earlier, in white. They have more inset, which solved all my problems. No rubbing or issues anymore. Guys, I'm telling you, 3.8S with semi-slicks is just divine. And BMWs, guys, there's something else. But, let's be honest, Mercedes-Benz is where it's at. I think I might have broken a CV joint. I think the reason the wheel got caught from both sides was that the bar snapped when I shifted from first to second gear, causing it to hit our rear lights. Let's remember how they looked. And then we'll see how they'll look with the new tuning lights. These lights clearly show that they're from the 80s or 90s. They're very old school. They arrived from America. I think they're a very worthy option for the H-black front. What do you guys think? So, guys, the first light is already in place. In my opinion, it looks pretty good. Overall, the taillights fit here like they're factory made, which I personally really like. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Do you like them or not? I know E30 enthusiasts might say, why didn't you go for the branded ones? There are some branded ones that cost almost $1,000 or sometimes even more. But honestly, I'm not a fan of everything being original. I prefer something that looks good and, most importantly, is new, not used and broken. Let me show you where else the money is being spent on this project. We have a sports brain, the ECU Tech Black. They said it's a top-of-the-line product, a small box that costs a decent amount of money. We also got a wideband lambda sensor with an extension cable to connect it to the brain. This adapter allows us to connect without cutting the wiring when installing the sports brain. Through this adapter, we can also connect a fuel pressure sensor or injectors. Let's take a look at the models. They can work with both ethanol and gasoline. Let me know what you think. Check out this radio. The face has a retro style, but it's fully modern inside. It has Bluetooth and a USB port, and I expect the sound quality to be great. I got these tweeters. They're not original because the originals cost a lot. And besides, they were already worn out. I got these in America. They're speaker pods for low and mid-frequency drivers. The pocket comes off, and this pod goes in its place. It'll look cool, don't you think? As you can tell, I'm planning a really cool project. It'll be a fast E30 with great music. I'm planning to add a subwoofer in the back, so the sound is just right. That's because I love good and beautiful sound. And of course, I want some excitement too. That's why I'm thinking about adding a blow-off valve. It'll make a great noise when you let off the throttle. I think it'll be really exciting. I've already got some records on the track. I'll be testing it more to see what it can do. In general, we managed to add a bit of power with the M50 manifold in this video. It's been a challenging journey, honestly. I did all of this work by hand, all the fittings, wiring, everything had to be cut and extended. When flipping the injectors, wires needed to be lengthened. There was a lot of work involved. I know you'll ask about the sensor I installed in the manifold. It's an M54 factory sensor. I didn't want to flash anything or do anything like that. There was a plastic sleeve there, so I trimmed it to the required diameter and screwed it in. I didn't want to install an enlarged throttle because I was told it would make the car too jerky. I like everything to be neat and tidy, without any nerve-wracking issues like hesitation or pauses during gear changes. But I'll tell you, this was a huge amount of work. Think about it if you're considering it. Although it's cheap and cheerful, the workload is insane. Overall, I'm very pleased with the car. It's an emotional toy, really. When we go out on the weekends and someone sees it, they always want to race. I'm not one to speed around in daily life, but on the track, it's a different story. I've outrun a Toyota Camry with a 3.5L engine, a 535 BMW, a 330 BMW, and even a Toyota Avalon. They're not sports cars, but I beat them all. It's just exhilarating. When I install the compressor and tune everything, I believe this car will do 100 to 200 kilometers per hour in about 9 to 10 seconds. Those are my plans, so let's see how it turns out. Write your comments below, and as always, glory to Ukraine, and hold your ground, friends.